hopefully, let me start off by asking how many people live in Somerville? Okay, and if people would just shout out where, if you don't live in Somerville, where you do live.
Brookline.
Cambridge.
Boston.
Cambridge, what? Did I hear another one?
Brookline.
Brookline, Cambridge. Very far afield. Nobody from China or anything like that. Okay. Sometimes we have that. You never know. Okay, so if I'm telling you things you already know because you live in Somerville, then you can ignore this. But for those that don't know, that's a brand new high school in the last couple of years. And the other side of that is the central library for the city. So that's why we call this a civic campus for the city. This piles of dirt over there is not permanent, hopefully. And over here, what we're doing, this is going to be the soccer field and athletic field over here, which is in progress, obviously. So we still have a little bit more to do. And this building was built in 1852. It is a designated structure. If you note on your sheets where it says LHD and NR, those are abbreviations for National Register NR, which means that particular structure is on the National Register of Historic Places, which makes it very significant to the nation, but it also means that it is only affected if there's public funds involved. So if somebody wants to make changes to it and there's no public funds, it's not really a protected building. So that's why we have LHDs, which stands for Local Historic Districts. And those properties are also very architecturally or historically significant, but they are protected from demolition and major alterations without going through the Historic Preservation Commission. I was previously the director for the Historic Preservation Commission, which I helped found. I'm no longer, and I want to introduce you now to Dick Bauer, who has for many years been the chair of the Historic Preservation Commission, and now I think he's the...
No, I stepped down. I'm just
You stepped down, so. He's also on the CPC, which is the Community Preservation Committee, which is a very important committee in the city. Your tax dollars go to that, and that's what funds a lot of the affordable housing and open space and recreation, and last but not least is historic preservation. So the Prospect Hill Tower benefited from it, and a lot of other historic properties in the city. So Dick sits on that as our member, as our representative on that council.
Also not anymore.
Oh, you're not on there anymore?
No.
Okay, well, he was, keeps changing.
Many years, but not anymore.
But in any case, he is going to be co-leading this with me, and the other two people is Alan. Alan's going to raise his hand, okay? Alan was formerly on the Somerville Bike Committee, and that's how we started doing these kind of historic bike rides together, the Bike Committee and my office, which is the Preservation Commission. He's since retired from that, I think, and I have to give him full credit for the idea of this Fluffernutter ride. This goes back pre-COVID. He suggested this. The one major change that I made is he wanted us to go all the way to where Marshmallow Fluff actually is made. Does anybody know where that is? Okay. Huh? Yeah, Lynn, Massachusetts. So it was a long trip, and we would take a train back. So I suggested that was a little longer than I think some people wanted to do for this ride. So we're not going all the way there. We've actually acquired it from the next best thing, which is Union Square Main Street, which represents the residents and the businesses in Union Square, and they celebrate every year, which was 2 weeks ago, the Fluff Festival. Does anybody go to the Fluff Festival? Oh, oh, you did, okay. Simon went. All right, so the Fluff Festival happens every year for, I think it's 12 years now, and it celebrates the fact that it was started, it concocted in a house in Somerville on Springfield Street. So, but that fluff is not all the way to Lynn. We have to go. The Union Square Main Street has donated it from the Fluff Festival that they just did. Archibald Query was the originator of it, and he was not able to be here today either. He's traveling over the weekend. So what we're gonna do today is travel around and pick up the ingredients to making Fluffernutter sandwiches. Does everybody here know what a Fluffernutter sandwich is? No, okay, so some of you people are here just because why not, right? Okay, fair enough. I'm not from this area, so to be honest, I never knew what these things was before, so I know I'm clueless. I never grew up with fluff, so I don't have the same nostalgic feeling that many of you might have. In fact, I'm not a big fan of fluff, to be very honest. However, it is fun, and we're gonna make Fluffernutter sandwich, which was made with bread and fluff and peanut butter. And from what I understand, again, if you're a local, the only peanut butter that ranks is Teddy's peanut butter. Okay, and there must be some people here that grew up around here and know these things firsthand, right? Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. And Teddy's peanut butter is based in Everett, so it's not that far away, but that's where we're gonna go. And one of the goals of this mission, beside making sandwiches, is to show everybody how close it is to go to all these different places and how you can connect up and understand how you can use a bicycle to get to a lot of places that you thought were only available by car. And so obviously the city is trying to promote cycling, and this is kind of a fun way to do it. So Everett is another community over, and it's a little bifurcated the way we're going, but that's okay. One other thing we're going to do is we're going to promote to anybody we can talk to why they need to improve the bike trails throughout this area. Okay, so another mission here, because you'll see the parts that don't work quite as well as they could. We do have a police presence. Unfortunately, the bike patrol of the police department got defunded, apparently, so they are not on bicycles as they used to always be. They're in a car, so I'm not exactly sure where exactly they're going to be, but they're figuring that out. But hopefully they're going to block some of the places where the roads are a little more difficult. Okay? Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask before we get going?
Do we need a bag to carry things?
Do you need a bag? Do I need a bag?
Will we kind of...
You're not going to have to carry anything, but thank you for thinking of us, because we are going to have to carry the supplies.
Okay.
Because to get the Teddy's peanut butter, this is a fun piece. This is also, you should know, is that we can't go to Teddy's because it's Sundays, and lo and behold, they're not open on Sunday afternoons. Surprise, surprise. So I've made arrangements for us to go to Night Shift Brewing. Does anybody know where that is?
Across the street.
Got it. So
we're
I didn't know
gonna go-
that till I went over there and did the ride. And where's Janine? Janine, please stand here. Janine Farley and I have done this ride together and discovered all kinds of fun things that day. And so the fact that it's across the street, we thought, brilliant. So they actually, Teddy's has taken over the peanut butter to them, and then we're going to go there where they have restrooms. And I'm not going to encourage anybody to drink while you're there. I'm going to encourage you to buy cans, which they will make available to you, so you can drink them at the end to wash down your Fluffernutter sandwich. Okay? But there is a restroom there. The whole tour, we're thinking, is going to take 2.5 hours with that stop, and there's a couple of stops along the way, and you'll find them as we go. And that's what your cue sheets will tell you, okay? So the first stop is going to be a historic house, one of these LHD ones I mentioned, and the owner is going to talk to you about his house, so I won't say any more. And we have one new person coming, so hopefully she is going to very quickly sign in and get a name tag.
She's gonna do everything right.
Yeah, including wearing that scary hat.
That's for the pigeons.
Oh. For those of you that don't have a helmet, I assume it's on your bike or something, so it's not absolutely required, but it's certainly highly encouraged. So, okay, any other questions? Yes. I'm sorry, speak up. If you get a flat tire, good question.
I brought some basic tools, but I forgot to bring patches, so I don't know if anybody has. Hopefully nobody will get a flat, but I have basic tools if somebody gets, something stuck or needs some adjustment, but I don't have any patches.
We also have the police cars, so if worse comes to worse, that would be another alternative there. But we're going to be optimistic, okay? Okay, so right now we're under a little bit of a time constraint because we need to get to Lindell's, which is on West Somerville, by 2:45 in order before they close at 3, because that's where we're picking up the fresh bread. Okay? So onward.
He finds these bikes out of the dumpster.
Alright, I will give you those in a box unless you're opposed.
Far superior, and I actually have somebody here who grew up in New England, and in Massachusetts in particular, and I bet you had Fluffernutter sandwiches, correct?
Of course.
Yes, of course. So, this is Jim Thomas, who isn't on the ride, but should be. But
Brandon, what are you doing coming in here 10 minutes before closing?
they knew I was coming. This
Okay.
is all set before. So
Okay.
I'm going to pass around a thing that shows you what, this is the founder of it, of the Lindell's Bakery. This is like one of the earliest scratch bakeries in the country that's still operating that way. They did know we were coming right before their closing, but that's why we didn't get, oh, perfect. I have the pleasure to introduce the owner of this house for how many years?
50 years.
50 years, wow, yeah. This is Gerald Pierce. Yeah, you do want to get off of onto the sidewalk, I think, so that cars do come down here. So Gerald Pierce is the owner of the house, in addition to which he is a docent at the Milk Row Cemetery. There's a program that we started many years ago. So if you want to go to 3 historic sites, the Old Powder House, the Prospect Hill Tower, and the Milk Row Cemetery, we have a docent program. I encourage you to go. It's free. There's a set schedule that you can find on the website or on the banners. And he is one of the regulars there.
I like to talk.
So he's only going to get 10 minutes to talk because we've got to get to Lindell to get the bread.
I got you. Well, so Brandon has already preempted most of my intro lines, but my name is Jerry Pierce, and I have lived here 50 years exactly. I bought the house in '73 in an era of a very different Somerville that we are living in today, and I would be embarrassed, given today's real estate, to tell you what I paid, but it was not very significant by today's standards. The house is a wonderful house, and I have made every effort to preserve it in a sensible fashion. If any of you own old houses, you will know they are just caverns of work. That as soon as you finish one task, they say, thank you very much, now here's 5 more you consider. However, even granting that, when I bought the house, it was by no means derelict. It was in very good shape. It was quite ugly at the time because it had been covered in asphalt shingles. And while they were not very attractive, they had the value, so I'm told by siding people, of preserving the structure underneath, because it kind of let them breathe. So most of the stuff that you are looking at, the shutters, which I built myself, But most of the clapboards are original clapboards. Some, of course, had really deteriorated, and I replaced them. But for the most part, it was indeed a structurally very sound place. The house itself is a classic example of what is called federal architecture, of which there are very, very few homes left in Somerville. And as you can see, it is a very simple and elegant structure. There is one gable that would be traditional to have windows very geometrically set up. There's no frills. The corner boards are very simple. The windows are usually 6 by 6. These are all the storm windows. I'm kind of a dumpster diver myself, and had retrieved those and put them on. They're kind of ugly, but they do a reasonable amount of work. But the windows themselves are 6 by 6, 6 light over by 6 light, of which a reasonable number of the panes in them are indeed true sandwich glass. So when you look through them, you get this very pleasant distortion of vision. Okay. Interestingly enough, in federal homes, when you do a little bit of research, they were traditionally set up with 2 large rooms inside. That is indeed what this house has. There are 2 rooms inside. There are 3 or 4 rooms upstairs, but that would be a very standard thing. But I think the whole idea of a federal style is simplicity and elegance. Okay. The house is much bigger than it appears because there are additional parts to it. The part that you can kind of see in the background there was clearly added. There is no basement. There's one basement, an earth-floored basement under what in effect is the back parlor. Okay. Fortunately, over the years, there have been only kind of 2 floods of the basement. There are many houses in Somerville that continue to have problems because Somerville was essentially a very marshy, swampy part of the world, albeit extraordinarily hilly, okay? So, for instance, even on Union Square, when there used to be Sherman's Hardware, if there was any kind of rain at all, the 2 guys who owned it would have to go downstairs to make sure their sump pumps were running. But I have been spared there, maybe because I'm at the bottom of the hill. I don't know. For those of you who have done any reading about Somerville, it's important to realize how hilly in its original state Somerville was. The highest point of Somerville was at the top of Central Street. You guys are going to be biking, so I expect you might discover for yourself how hilly things can be. But even now where Prospect Hill was knocked down, so one reads, to the extent of the monument there, to fill in the Miller's River. You may or may not know, unlikely as it seems, that once upon a time in Union Square there was something called the Miller's River, which connected with Boston Harbor. This is how produce, which came, from Lexington, Concord, places like that, were brought down to the city via where we are now on Somerville Avenue, which was called Milk Row at the time.
It starts in 2024, which is next year, starting January 1st, just so you know, is the day that we do the celebration at Prospect Hill Park, Prospect Hill Tower. As I mentioned, we have a docent program there as well. So I invite all of you way in advance to put that on your calendar. It starts at noontime at the tower, and we have a reenactment of what might have occurred and what it might have been like back in January 1st of 1776. But this was way before that, as Dick just said. And just to give you a little bit of background, I want to let you know that this was actually, we call it Nathan Tufts Park because it was actually donated by Nathan Tufts to the city of Somerville. But it's gone through a lot of different uses during this time, during the many decades. As Dick already said, it was a windmill first from 1704 to 1747, and by a French Huguenot that actually ran it. And there was actually a quarry here, a 2-penny brook quarry. And then the Tufts family actually had a farm here, right around this area as well. And in 1747 is when the Powder House raid occurred. We also are known for the Powder House pickles. We're actually named after this here, and the pickle factory was over there. And they used to be stored, the pickles, here because of the very thick stone walls. It was perfect for preserving and storing the pickles, and those are actually apparently very tasty pickles. This Nathan Tufts actually of the Tufts family presented this park to the city in 1892, so that's when it was established, in 1892 to 1894. And then it also became something that's on our seal. So if you look at the city seal, you might notice that the Powder House is on it because of its symbolic importance to us. And that was done in 1972, which would have been the
100th of the city.
100th, this is what I was doing my math here, 100th anniversary of the city that they made it. So, and then the field house, which is on the other side of this hill down there, was actually built in 1935. Does that ring any bells for people in history, why that would have been built? It was part of the WPA, the Works Progress Administration, when they were looking for things to keep people gainfully occupied and such, and so they built that, and it was from a lot of the quarry stone that was in this area as well. And it's been used over time by the city for a variety of different purposes, including Traffic and Parking Commission was there, the Recreation Commission. I think there was some voting that was done down there as well. So right now it's back with the Recreation Commission, I think, for the youth of the city. And then this was actually, this whole park and this whole, which includes the field house and the Powder House, was put on the National Register in 1975. So it was one of the first ones in the city of Somerville to be on the National Register. And then we did a renovation to restore the park, the city of Somerville. Back in 2000, we got a couple of grants from the state, first to actually renovate and stabilize the Powder House itself, and then a couple of years later to renovate the park and restore it back to the time that it would have looked at the end of the 19th century. And so we actually have the carriageway, which is where the carriages would have come up, and restored that. We took away the parking spaces and the cement and a lot of those intrusions, if you might say, to the historic setting that it was before. And it won an award. I think it's the only park in the entire city of Somerville that actually has won a state award. started in 1914, and it went away for a couple of years. I'll tell you about it. But anyway, the grandson has resumed the business as of like 2000, and he has donated a bunch of sodas for us to do. So there's root beer, there's ginger beer, there's raspberry lime rickeys, all kinds of fun drinks.
Wow.
In addition to which, we'll be at Aeronaut. So not to compete, Night Shift is great beer, I have to tell you. So if you haven't ever tried it, I'd buy a can here. But then at Aeronaut, you can go back there and they will obviously have their beer.
If we drink too much, can we get a ride with the police? No?
There's a water station just inside the doors on the
He's
left.
going to talk. This is one of the founders, so they'll get you
Oh,
water.
okay. Oh, this is so cool, guys. Smile.
Okay, here we go. Make sure you get my fluff button.
Stir it.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to do with plastic knives.
You're not going to reach to the bottom.
We're just going to have to do the best that we can.
Yep.
Yeah, Teddy is good, but this is a downside. These are ours.
Yes.
So this type of bread is particularly good. It's honey. No, maybe it's that one. I don't know. We had a big discussion about what goes with.
Yeah. But probably not good for fluffernutters.
Really? I don't know. I decided that it's honey nut or something. What's it called?
Yeah, I think it's honey graham.
Honey graham. That's it. Well, I thought that would
And it's
make
wonderful and highly decadent.
Yeah. So you need to take pictures of it.
I'll get in there and make you a sandwich, okay?
I want to make myself.
And a big smile on your face after, too.
Everybody say fluff.
All right, go. Go, go, go. No one did it. Yeah, cheers.